2 1-0s on the bounce might be bad form, but there's always another game. And this Sunday, a chance against Bournemouth to get back on the horse. Welcome to Blue Monday as we preview Ipswich Town versus Bournemouth on Sunday. I won't lie to you, folks. We're a little bit late for those who've joined us live. Thank you, everyone who has joined us live, and we see you in the chat. We'll come to you in a second. It looks a little bit different at Seb's end. Challenges up north, Seb, with the internet, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I did my normal. I got myself ready for the podcast, and there is a hell of a storm blowing outside. And I came and sat upstairs, and I refreshed my web browser, and I had no internet. And I thought, that's strange. So I went back downstairs, and the router is lit up like a Christmas tree, but with orange and red. So I've restarted it. I've hardwired directly into my fiber box in the building, and nothing at all is working. So I am on my phone on a 4G connection, which being in the north isn't great. So bear with me, people. If there's delays, if I stutter, etc., please forgive me for this week.
So we could all blame Seb on this one. It's a rare instance where I'm entirely blameless. I'm happy to continue as a solo project as well, if need be as well. But we bear in mind we are challenged by logistics tonight. We will do our absolute best. Let's say hello to the chat. And maybe buy your broadband some time. Evening to Paul. 2 days gives people a chance to reflect and calm down. He says, every match is tough. We are having to battle for every point. We support a unique and great club. Whatever happens, that will not change. Yeah, very much support Paul's sentiments there. Evening to Neil. Foul weather in Frinton, or filthy weather in Frinton. He says, keep the faith all. Evening to Richard. Evening to Stephen, hoping that Sunday must be much better. He's not hoping, he's instructing that Sunday must be better. J Casey 170 is here. Lynn as well. Streaky, morning from Brisbane. Love the late start. Cheers. Sharon here. Ed here as well. Thank you everyone for getting involved. We will dip in and out of the chat all night. I might have to refer to you instead of Seb as the kind of second person on the podcast at some point, but we'll power through. I will do as much talking as possible. And if that is not your bag, then apologies. This is not the week for you. Seb, let's test the line. Reaction, we had Paul's message there about Palace. It's worth noting that we've only lost 2 games 1-0. We haven't been pumped by anyone, unlike some of the teams around us, and maybe some unsavoury scenes in the away end at Everton. Is it as bad as we're all making out, or do we have rights to be concerned?
Well, I think do we have rights to be concerned? Yes. I think me and Mikey kind of laid that picture at the during the post-match show on Tuesday night. But then you see the scenes at Wolves and at Southampton, and these are sides which are way further down the line than we are. I know Southampton were in our league last year in the Championship, but let's not forget they had a much kind of further down the line starting spot given their parachute payments and the fact they were in the Premier League for 10 years beforehand. So yes, Tuesday was very disappointing. There's no getting round that. We've spoken about the atmosphere being flat. Was there kind of a general kind of nerves in the air feeling as it was a big game and one potentially that we had to kind of get 3 points from? We didn't, but that's the great thing about football, isn't it? We will have more down days this season. We will have up days, but beat Bournemouth on Sunday and suddenly everything is relatively rosy again. And, never get too high with the highs, the Tottenham away, the Man United at home, the Villa at home, and don't get too lows with the defeats. Yes, it was disappointing, but what did McKenna say before the Forest game last week? Was it he said I think we're round about where I thought we'd be in terms of a points total. So the management, the executive board, they probably do think yes, we're going to be in for a bit of a slog while we acclimatise to this level. Injuries obviously haven't helped. It was a poor performance, but that's the great thing about football. You get another chance relatively quickly, and if we can deliver on Sunday, we'll all be happy again. And as I keep saying, I know I'm labouring the point, maybe we do get better in the second half of seasons. We've seen that over the last 2 years. So I know it's December time, but what are we in reality? just over a third of the way, I think, through the actual season. So plenty of games to go, 24 or so games to go, lots of time to kind of turn things around, and we will get better. We know that.
We know that, says Seb Brown. Let's do a news roundup before we head to Bournemouth. FA Cup draw on Monday. Some really exciting ties, actually. Oh, Seb's pointing at my face. That hurt.
Sorry.
Some really exciting ties for once in the third round. Some Tamworth and Salford got some really good ties, didn't they? I kind of tweeted this from the Blue Monday account at the time, Seb. Is Bristol Rovers at home the tie we needed rather than maybe the tie we wanted?
Yeah, spent 5 years wanting Tottenham or Liverpool away, Everton away, etc. But this time you want a relatively simple game. First off, you want a home tie, which tick, yes, we've got that one. And then you're kind of thinking, what do you want? You don't want a Premier League big boy because you're probably going to get smashed even if they play the reserves. You don't want a side going well in the Championship that's pushing for promotion. And then you don't want the banana skin of Maidstone last year. This time last year we all sat here and thought Maidstone at home was a great tie and one that we could ease some squad players in and maybe some January signings, and we all know what happened there. So I think lower mid-table, whatever they are 15th, 16th in League One, a lower kind of mid-table side in League One is pretty much perfect. We're not travelling anywhere. Obviously, we know replays have been abolished. That's a different combination to have at some point down the line, maybe. But as far as things go, I think that's quite useful. We can play a few of the squad players. If there are new faces in the building by then, because it's a weekend later than normal, we can look to get them up to speed, maybe. Hashtag in the building, and we will. I think it's a pretty favourable draw, and I'm pretty happy with it.
Andy mentions here there's been a turning point against Bristol Rovers in the past. He says, "Will Bristol Rovers be our turning point again?" Then, Seb ? Maybe for some of the fringe players, perhaps. Are we expecting it to have much of an impact on our league form? I would suspect not.
No, but a home win and a bit of, if we can stick 3-4 goals past them, clip this up for the inevitable 1-0 defeat. If we can stick 3 or 4 goals past them and build a bit of confidence, then there's no reason why, some of the, I guess, Luongo will get a game, Connor Townsend will get a game, Wolfenden, it won't do these guys any harm at all. And it kind of, gets us through to the next round when, again, we were bemoaning the lack of a cup run after the Wimbledon defeat, weren't we? Because we were struggling to find game time to keep people fresh. We know that McKenna likes to keep players involved at all times in the previous couple of campaigns. With less games in the Premier League, that's not quite as straightforward, but obviously it's a chance to get minutes into the legs of potential new arrivals, potential squad players, and a bit of a confidence booster.
In terms of cup action, it continues for the women too. They are in cup action, coincidentally, against Bournemouth on Sunday at 1 p.m. Annoyingly, for those who wanted to watch both matches, I hear that behind the scenes attempts were made to avoid the fixture clash with the men's game, but sadly to no avail. So they are in cup action. Bournemouth, I think, unbeaten this season. They are top of the tier below, going really well. So it won't be a easy game for Town. That being said, we were victorious against Bournemouth in a pre-season friendly 4-0. So there is some history there, positive history in Town's favour. As we mentioned a few times, a competition where the club have some real pedigree and some real positive history. So we're looking to get through that one, hopefully, and get maybe a WSL or a Championship side in the next round. And we're all already excited about the game against Plymouth in March. Who knows what might happen if we get a WSL draw as well, perhaps. Also, shout out to Lucy O'Brien, sponsored by Friends of Blue Monday. Thank you to them and their continued support. You see their names in our end titles. Lucy O'Brien, Player of the Month for November, had a fantastic month, winning some shootouts that got Town into the next round, or scoring the winning pen, the winning goals against Oxford as well. So fantastic month for Lucy. We're so proud of her, but obviously all the things that women's team are doing. And as we say, we wish them all the best for Sunday against Bournemouth, as much as we wish the men all the best against Bournemouth as well. Shall I get this out of the way early doors, Seb? I haven't got a huge amount of affection for Bournemouth as a football club historically, but you have to hold their hands up. They are doing something right, aren't they?
You have to hold their hands up. You're not going to hold your hands up. You're going to hold.
I'll hold my hands up. They are doing something right.
Yeah, I agree. I think I have the same sentiments. I'm not overly fond of them. This was probably the most difficult show to do the research for so far in the Premier League, which obviously tells you, kind of the size of the club. You can't compare this to some of the people we've come up across recently. And I hated that whole plucky Bournemouth vibe. Do you remember in the playoff campaign and the year before? And it was the purist and total football of Eddie Howe going up against the relic of Mick McCarthy, and they were the underdogs, and what a great story it would be. And yes, you have to hold your hands up and say, fair play. They have kind of done well. They're established at this level now. They were relegated after a number of years, but they've bounced back at I think it was the second attempt they went back up. But equally, they're not the minnows that everyone kind of makes out. I'm fairly sure they broke some FFP rules and got a huge fine following their promotion.
Allegedly.
I'll say allegedly just in case, but I'm sure. I think that is right. Normally I'd Google it and check it, but I can't because of the storm. So yeah, I mean, yeah, the whole plucky Bournemouth vibe. It is a nice story to go from wherever they were, League Two, to the Premier League, and carry on some of the same band of players. But 10 years ago, I found that quite grating. So yeah, I agree with you. This isn't one where we sit here sometimes and say Everton, proper club, Man United, biggest club in the world. I don't think we hold Bournemouth in the same level of esteem, do we?
But having got out the snarkiness out of the way, it's worth noting that Bournemouth, excellent coach, really talented squad as well. It seems it's kind of a cognitive distance when you think about Bournemouth as a football club with that tiny little stadium, not a huge amount of history, at least at top flight level, and yet attracting all of this talent. And as far as their seasons go, mid-table is par, isn't it? Let's be honest. And if they could do better than that, happy days. But it's probably going just as much as well as they'd hope for, Seb.
I think so. Yeah, I mean they're very much a side that will have designs on that kind of 12th to 15th position, maybe slightly higher, maybe looking to break into the top 10. They're already well clear of the relegation zone. They won't have any real issues with that. I'd be amazed if they got dragged into it. And yeah, they're doing really well based on the masterstroke appointment of a manager, a surprising appointment perhaps that we'll discuss, of a masterstroke appointment back in summer 2023. So they're sat in 13th position with 18 points. They are 9 points clear of the relegation spots. As I say, they are well clear of us. Only 2 points away from Europe as it stands at the moment. So as I say, very much got designs further up than down. Played 13, won 5, drawn 3, lost 5, scored 20 goals, conceded 19. They do concede goals. They've created 39 big chances so far this season, which is the 8th best in the league. So they do create things. And their last 5 overall was a bit of a mixed bag. 2 wins, Wolves and Manchester City, which obviously sounds incredibly impressive, but you've got to remember the City were in their recent funk of form. 1 draw at Villa and 2 defeats against Brighton and Brentford. Away from home, they're solid. 10th in the league with 8 points from 7 games. However, 13 goals conceded away from home is the 4th highest in the division. And their last 5 away has only got 1 win. It was last time out against Wolves. They were given massive helping hand by Wolves and some really shambolic defending. 1 draw against Villa. The 3 defeats, Brentford, Leicester and Liverpool. So recent away form, not amazing. And they do concede on their travels.
Reading those stats back definitely gave me the pre-match Spurs vibes, if I'm honest, in terms of that. There's a lot of goals conceded, basically a neutral goal difference. That I guess bodes well. I'm just trying to get the Spurs score up, the Spurs Bournemouth score, because as Dan has confirmed in the chat and as Neil has alluded to, Bournemouth are playing as we record or about just kicked off. So we'll keep an eye out on that one and we'll look at their team as it relates to our research and what Seb has found on them. And that, that gap of a couple of days in our favour maybe works. But yeah, I was a little bit daunted having seen some of the results. Certainly that Man City win, but maybe some context there. But neutral goal difference, basically, as many won as they've lost. Maybe there's a chance. Seb, who knows? We've kind of dealt with what the ambition is at Bournemouth. But we need to talk about the quality of the squad and the quality of the recruitment. I think probably today's buzz phrase is going to be, to be fair, ... to Bournemouth. To be fair, as you've identified in the research, average player age of 25.5 years old, 3rd youngest in the division, Some really talented young players that they've recruited there. Folk will know maybe about Max Aarons from Norwich, but there's some really talented players in the squads. You've identified a couple of them, and one of them scares the crap out of us, doesn't he, after his goal against Wolves?
Yeah, Milos Kerkez, the left back. He was signed in the summer of 23, so the same summer the manager arrives, and he's really, really pushed on this season. We'll discuss. I can't do the tactical iPad this week, obviously, I'm afraid, folks. Sorry. It took me ages to prepare it with all the moving little icons, but that's out the window this week. But Kerkez, they very much attack down the left-hand side, and Kerkez, the left back, likes to get high. If you've seen his goal last week at Molineux, it's a bit of a kind of a Leif Davis special. You know, the ball finds its way out just outside the player that I can't remember, it might be Ivan Nilsson, maybe plays him in, and it hits it with so much power, so hard into the roof of the net that Jose Sarr, the Wolves keeper, barely moves. He's an excellent player. Links this week with Liverpool and I think Man City, maybe. They're kind of talking 55, 60 million pounds, which seems crazy, but one good season in the Premier League, and that's the going rate these days.
It is a good description to call it kind of a Leif Davis-esque goal. I mean, for those unaware, he is a left back, but bombs on, and it's off the bar and in, kind of very Southampton-esque, isn't it? Goal there. That Wolves game, though, Seb, I mean, bizarre situation there with 3 penalties. 4-2 win in the end. Obviously, Wolves would go on to lose 4-0 to Everton midweek. I just don't know how much we can take out of this game because, fair play. To be fair to ... Justin Kluivert, he's converted a hat trick of penalties. I think that's the first time in Premier League history, and all of them, apart from maybe one of them, was a little bit iffy and a bit harsh. What can we take out of that game?
The defending from Wolves was absolutely shambolic. Let's be honest, they had a major helping hand, Bournemouth, along the way. But they did what Bournemouth do. We'll discuss their playing style. They are incredibly hardworking. Their pressing intensity, they're top for pretty much all the running stats, all the intensity stats. And, it was 3 goals in the first 8 minutes, wasn't it? 1-0 to Bournemouth, then 1-1, claw back, then 2-1. And then, as I said, Wolves gave them a real helping hand. But the level of pressing from Ivan Nilsson right from the front, the 3 behind him, they play a 4-2-3-1, shock horror. Wolves just couldn't cope with them. And they're basically in that lovely little kind of sort of niche you need to get to where you can comfortably beat the sides below you, have a go at the bigger boys like they got the 3 points against Man City. And if you can do that, a bit like we said with Brentford a few weeks ago on here, you're pretty much going to finish in that 10 to 15th spot and be perfectly comfortable in the Premier League. So, the XG was 3.29, but that includes 3 penalties. So take those out, and the XG isn't amazing. They're not overly possession-based, 40% possession they had in that game. So they are happy for other sides to have the ball, but when they get a chance, they will hit you at speed and directness, and they really made Wolves pay.
Yeah, that was my take from it as well. The speed they get up the pitch, it does mean that they're quite open at the back. Again, very similar to Spurs. So there's a few conclusions for you from the last time out, and anything we can glean from what is happening at Bournemouth tonight against Tottenham, we'll try and splice that in. We'll talk about the lineup later on. I've got the live commentary below, but keep me posted in the chat if anything happens. Should we talk about the manager, Seb? Apologies in advance. I've not watched the Premier League pronunciation video, so I'm probably going to butcher this. Iraola, though, been in charge since July 2023. Very highly rated and doing a very good job.
And a bit of a shock appointment, wasn't it? Their first season back up in the Premier League, Scott Parker takes them up. They get absolutely smashed in the 4th game of the season, 9-0 against Liverpool. I seem to remember, didn't Parker come out and slightly call out the owners regarding recruitment, and they weren't really tooled up to do the job, and they dismiss him, and Gary O'Neill takes over, and they do survive. They survived by 5 points, I think it was, in his first season. They end the season poorly, but they stay up by 5 points, and in a ruthless manner, the board do not hang around with Gary O'Neill. They get rid of him and they appoint Areola from Rayo Vallecano in Spain, and he's completely kind of transformed the way they play. This high pressing, high intensity football has been delivered whilst at the same time not really being involved in a relegation battle. He's managed 51 games, won 18, drawn 12, lost 21, 1.29 points per game, which is 49 across the season. Now, those numbers are slightly kind of skewed because he didn't win for his first 9 games in charge. They didn't win till the 9th game of last season. And I think a bit of credit, whilst I've slagged Bournemouth off, I think a bit of credit does have to go to the board, because it would be easy to panic, wouldn't it? If you're winless after 9 games in the Premier League, you're only in your second season back up. It would be no one would have judged them, let's say, if they'd have fired him and brought in a safe pair of hands. You know, we've seen, which De Boer brother was it at Palace who barely lasted
Frank.
5 or 6 games? Frank De Boer, was it? Lasted 5 or 6 games before being dispensed of. So fair play to the ownership for sticking with their principles. They appointed him, he was their man, and they're now reaping the rewards of it. He was actually approached by Leeds. Do you remember when they fired, was it Javi Garcia, the Watford manager?
Was
They
it Jesse
appointed Big
March?
Sam. Sorry.
Jesse March?
Was it with Jesse March? No, it was Garcia, wasn't it? Replaced Jesse March, and then they fired Jesse March. They eventually brought in Big Sam, I think, for the couple of last few games of the season. I think he was approached back then, according to the stuff on the internet. But Rayo Vallecano said, no, you're not going to talk to him. So yeah, playing career as a right back, mainly in Spain, Athletic Bilbao. That's where he was most known for. 406 appearances over 12 years, and I think we're both going to be in agreement. He's definitely destined for bigger things in the not too distant future. I mean, if they finish 9th, 10th, 11th this season playing this level of football, he's going to be moving on, surely, isn't he?
Spurs, yeah, indeed. That would be my prediction.
That'd be nice. Yeah, that'd be great, wouldn't it? Yeah.
If people wanted to think happy thoughts, our history, Seb, is positive. This might be the first time so far this season we've got a very clearly positive win, draw, loss record in our favour.
We have, yeah. We've not played them that many times compared to some of the teams in recent weeks. But it's 14 wins for Ipswich, 13 draws, and 11 wins for Bournemouth. Not played them in a while. The last time we played them was at home in April 2015. I think it was on Good Friday, a 1-1 draw, as we were trying to get ourselves across the line into the playoff positions. I think we'd all accepted that automatics were gone at that point, and we were just trying to cement ourselves in the playoffs. And it was Freddie Sears opened the scoring early on. They then brought on Kenwyn Jones, along with his 40 grand a week alleged salary. This is what the plucky Bournemouth stuff really, really annoyed me at the time. He scored the equaliser. And in fact, the last 4 meetings between the two of us have all been draws. We've had 2 1-1 draws and 2 2-2 draws. So it's very much a game that can be, in recent times, very hard to split. The season before that was a 2-2 draw at Portman Road. Paul Anderson and Paul Green had the goals. I actually did a lineup quiz for this, but it's on my phone, so I can't throw that one at you, I'm afraid, because I didn't memorise it. And a bit of a comfort stat: we've not lost at home to Bournemouth since March 1988.
The last win, and for those watching, explaining why I'm wearing the 95-97 core shirt with the faded "What's it?" Is our last victory at Portman Road against Bournemouth. Was in the League Cup in August 1996. Guess the attendance.
Oh, League Cup 96. 9,500.
Turn that 6 upside down. 6,163. Those are the days. Mason and Marshall with the goal. And can you name maybe one of the Bournemouth team who would go on to have a sterling career for Ipswich Town? No.
Oh, for Ipswich Town. Matt Holland.
Matt Holland played for Bournemouth that night. So I have a lineup quiz for you. I'm prepared / cheated because I thought you'd ask me the 14-15 team. Do you want to have a bash at that, or are we testing the bounds of the network?
No, I think we'll be all right. That's lucky, because the one I prepared to you was the season before, because I thought the 14-15 team was quite easy. So that must be Bart in goal, Chambers, Smith, Berra, Zeki Friars.
How the hell did you get Zeki Friars?
Because we were at Huddersfield on the Easter Monday where he had a horror show. So I remember him joining just before. Midfield must be Scoose, Bishop. Varney was playing right wing at the time. J Tab will be left wing, and I guess it'll be Murphy and Sears up front.
Yeah, I think you've got that. Did you mention Bishop? Yeah.
Yeah, Varney, Bishop and Scoose in the middle, Varney right wing, J Tab left wing.
Oh, that's backfired. And an insight, folk, as to why Seb feels so cocky about doing lineup quizzes, because he's got an encyclopedic memory. I thought Zeki Friars would catch you out, but no, of course it wouldn't, because you were at the game before. Let's talk about Bournemouth.
So were you in my defence. You were there as well in my defence.
Is that the defeat?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a crap game. I've put that to the back of my mind. Do you want to deal with, some big money spent? Again, we've talked about the quality of the recruitment. That comes with some chunky transfer fees, though. So Talk us through the big ones.
This is the world they're in, isn't it? You know, buy players for relatively cheap, develop them, sell them for big, big money, and then look to reinvest it. So this is basically all funded by the sale of Dominic Solanke to Spurs. They signed him in 2019. He had one good year in the Premier League. Let's be honest, last season he got 19 goals, and that triggers a 65 million quid transfer to Tottenham, and they then can go out and use that money to reinvest and presumably copy the same kind of model. Even Nielsen, 40 million quid from Porto, was the man signed to replace those goals. He started well. He won all 3 penalties last week against Wolves, and he's won 5 penalties so far this season. So one to watch in the penalty area. Luis Sinisterra, him of the 4-3 game at Portman Road when only we faced that front 3 of Willy Nonto, Joel Rutter, whatever they were at the time. He was on loan last season. Pirro, yeah, he was on loan last season and then made the deal permanent this summer for £19 million. Enes Unal, the striker they signed in January to allow a certain Kiefer Moore to join us last year. His deal was made permanent for £14 million. And then they can take these kind of punts. This is, me and Ben discussed this last week. This kind of shows you what the 3rd season of Premier League money can do, because you can kind of take these more speculative punts, if I'm not being too harsh saying that. You can go and spend 8, 10, 12 million pounds on a player, look to develop them, and if it doesn't work out, you haven't really lost that much. They've got Dean Houston, who's come in from Juventus, 12.5 million quid, centre back. I think he's only 19 years old, so one to develop. Julian Urajo, and a right back, 8.5 million from Barcelona again. So one of these people that you can take, look to develop, and then sell on and reinvest in the future. And they've taken Kepa Arrizabalaga on loan from Chelsea, the famous goalkeeper that refused to be subbed in the cup final all those years ago. They loaned, a bit of a weird one, they loaned their number 1 Neto to Arsenal to be their reserve keeper, and they went and got Arrizabalaga as their number 1 for this season. And as I said, it was all funded by the sale of Dominic Solanke, 65 million. Kiefer Moore also departed, went to Sheffield United for 1.5 million after his heroics for us last season. And Lloyd Kelly, who was pretty highly rated left back, left centre back, tall, athletic, didn't get a fee for him. He ran his contract down and moved up to Newcastle. So they lost a little bit with Lloyd Kelly departing, but this is what they do. They will hope that even Nielsen, who is 2 or 3 years younger than Solanke, will have a couple of good seasons in the Premier League and get himself another big money move, and they will rinse and repeat.
Lloyd Kelly, Bristol City originally, I think.
Yes, yeah, that's him. Yeah,
very high. Yeah, we liked him when we lost there 1-0. I think it was. I was sat with Dave, and we were both enjoying his performance as we tend to do. So yeah, I mean, not there. So completely irrelevant point. Let's move on. We were going to do our Monday Night Football impression, but we can't do that. So do you want to try to explain the kind of tactic system, Seb? Let me start by saying, is it another 4-2 and 3-1?
Wasn't it gutting that the Palace 3 at the back system was the one game so far we've not been able to do a preview show for? I got all disappointed when I saw that because it was something different. But yes, it's a 4-2-3-1. Left-hand side, very strong. We've already discussed Kirkes. He pushes right up with the left winger. And you normally find, he's got his hands up. Go on.
1-0 Bournemouth. Huijsen. Continue.
Centre back. I think he came in for a start tonight. I think they've changed it up. Looks like Senesi isn't available. So from a set piece, presumably, I would assume. Yes. So anyway, they like to double up down the left-hand side. 43% of attacks come down their left with a combination of the left winger, the left back, and a centre, and one of the kind of the Justin Kluivert, the number 10, will also pop up there. They are the fastest team in the league at getting the ball forward quickly. They are top of the league for pressing intensity. They are top 3 for distance covered and sprints. They are second for possession 1 in the final third of the field. Are you starting to get a picture of how they're going to play? It's going to be relentless pressing from the front. And that's what Areola's done. He's kind of made them more compact in the middle, but pushed them up the field from how Gary Neal used to have them. They are 6th for high turnovers, resulting on shots on goal. As I said, they are not possession-based at all. 44.6% is the 4th lowest, as is their passing accuracy of 80%. So they are perfectly happy for the opposition to have the ball, but when they get it, they will hit you very, very quickly and very, very fast. 4 goals scored from set pieces is the joint 5th highest. They are very dirty. 13 fouls per game is the highest in the league, which might not be a kind of thing you associate with Bournemouth, but they are the worst for that. And 2.3 offsides per game is the 2nd highest in the league. So yeah, high line, high press, high intensity, get the ball forward very, very quickly, and it is relentless for 90 minutes.
And I can confirm it's now 5 goals from set pieces. The description from Sky, particularly scathing of Tottenham's defending. How easy was that for Bournemouth? Right wing corner, swung to the far post. There was an unmarked Hoyson to head home past a hapless Forster. And that is the defender's first Premier League goal and just the 6th of his whole career. You hadn't singled him out for key player status, but you have identified a few others. Seb, do you want to talk us through those?
We've already mentioned Ivan Nielsen. He's kind of the goal scorer. Antoine Semenyo is one who has really pushed on this season. Like Lloyd Kelly, he was a signing from Bristol City for 10 million quid, linked with Newcastle and Liverpool for 45 to 50 million pounds in recent weeks. He was suspended for 5 yellows against Wolves, so didn't feature, but he's back in the starting lineup tonight. Plays he can play either side of the 3 behind the striker, but predominantly down the right. 4 goals and an assist so far this season. Justin Kluivert, 5 goals, 3 of those came last weekend against Wolves from the penalty spot, and 2 assists. Again, a bit like Semenyo, can play either side, but has recently been filling in the number 10 role. Marcus Tavernier, signed from Middlesbrough, is a player that I've always liked. Brings energy, brings work rate, brings a threat down the flanks, but again, very much like we've had in recent years, Ariella seems to like his players to be able to kind of interchange in those 3 positions behind the main striker. So you will see them moving around a little bit in the game. 1 goal and 3 assists so far for Marcus Tavernier. But equally, there are some weaknesses. We've discussed Kepa Arrizabalaga. Only 1 clean sheet for him so far this season. Saves 64% of the shots he faces and is minus 1.5 in the goals prevented stats. So they haven't got an overly solid goalkeeper, but they do have some pretty decent forward options. They've got some issues in terms of injuries. Alex Scott, another Bristol City signing for big money, is out with he's had surgery to repair his meniscus. He won't be featuring. Lewis Cook missed the win last week against Wolves. I think he's on the bench tonight. Central midfielder. If he's out, that would be a bonus. He really makes them tick. He averages 59 touches per game. He's on the bench tonight, which suggests maybe he'll come back into central midfield. You've got Christie and Tyler Adams in there tonight, but he might well come back in and replace probably Tyler Adams if he's good to go for the weekend. And Luis Sinisterra has not featured since the middle of October with injury either.
And a grotty betting sponsor there on that shirt that we just popped up for those watching on YouTube. We've just going back to the chat. We will obviously talk about us in a second, and but I wanted to pop up Paul P's point about our right side not so strong. That doesn't bode well. Not a great time to have Axel to and Zabi out. Said he agree with that. Henry, our mate Henry, said Senesi missing for Bournemouth squad tonight. Cook on the bench, he says, on 4 yellows. Kluivert playing and on 4 yellows as well. So that can I swear? Of course I can swear. That shithousing, that the fouliness, perhaps catching up with them, Seb, a few treading the tightrope, as Sam Morsey has done successfully for seemingly the last 3 months. I don't know what it is. But yeah, certainly it feels like there's talent there. They're going to attack. We've experienced that obviously already this season and not done too badly, particularly in the more attacking games at home, which bodes well. I did say we'll talk about us in a second and maybe how we counter their threat, but also try to exploit their weaknesses. But anything else that you want to flag that maybe give us some hope?
Just one of my time-based ones, so it will give you hope for the first half. Bournemouth have conceded 7 goals in the first half of matches this season, which is the joint third worst in the league. But they finish games incredibly strongly. It's probably a result of this kind of never-ending, relentless pressing and closing down. They've scored 5 goals without reply after the 81st minute of matches, which is by far the best in the division. So even leading going into the last 10 minutes, don't count your chickens, folks.
Oh, blimey. I hate late shows. We've got some bad history, haven't we, on that front? That being said, late shows, guys. The referee, this is, if you hear this repeated anywhere else, you know it's been stolen from the Blue Monday podcast. I humbly suggest. Referee for the weekend's game, Michael Salisbury. Only ref 6 games this season. Maybe has another career perhaps, or isn't too much involved. 50% of his 6 games have been the Premier League. Last time out, the Everton 4 Wolves 0 game. Also ref Palace 0, Fulham 2, for whatever you want to read into that. But his last Ipswich Town game, I think his only Ipswich Town game perhaps, Ipswich Town 3, Southampton 2, April 2024. If you are looking for positive omens, then there is one right there. An Ipswich Town late show against a team from the South Coast. I can't do anything more. Seb and I can't do anything more than package that up for you. And Bradders, bless you, this podcast is so underrated. It's stuff like that that gets us the praise from the folk like Bradders. So thank you for your kind words. We're going to talk about us in a second. But first of all, let's hear from our pre-match, all of our show partners this season. Let's hear from Atwells.
Blue Monday is proudly brought to you in partnership with our friends at Atwell Solicitors, your ideal legal partner for work on property or business law. Their client care has repeatedly been recognised as outstanding, and they are people-focused with a plain English approach which sets them apart. They have offices in Ipswich, Colchester and London, and to find out more, head to atwells.com.
Mikey's buttery voice there in your ears talking about Atwells. We also need to shout out our friends at One Stop Badges. We are slowly running through our supply, but I will be at Portman Road with Blue Monday One Stop Badges. You're not in attendance, are you, this weekend, Seb?
No, thank God. I was planning on it, but the Sunday game has curtailed that.
So look out for Joe has a supply. Dave has a supply. So come and find us pre-match. I'm in the North Stand. If you find me in the North Stand, mention the podcast and that you want a badge. We will try and sort you out there. But if you want to sort out some one-stop badges for your own podcast or brand or charity, then there's a link in the description, both on YouTube and in the podcast, to get 10% off with a Blue Monday specific promo. Flagship is back. Use your time. Sunday, 8 p.m. Ben, Dave, Joe, the Holy Trinity, the three wise men. I need to do some Christmas branding, don't I, at some point? They'll be back to talk about the game after the fact. As always, we've got stuff beforehand. The prediction show, a double header with Mikey and Ben. You can listen back to that. We've also got the post-match reaction where we try and fail to keep the mood light. Keep it light, guys. We can't do that. But you can listen back to our thoughts on Palace and a little bit of a look ahead to the weekend. All that there on our YouTube feed, our podcast feed. Don't forget to subscribe. It just lands if you subscribe. Blue Monday stuff appears like magic. So do avail yourself of that. And if you've enjoyed tonight, and if you feel my pain of Seb's pain for storms and internet issues, do give Seb and I a thumbs up. We very much appreciate that. Also, shout out to those of you who have been sharing with us your Spotify Unwrapped, I think it is, and where we rank in your podcasts listens to of the year. We've loved those kind of things as well. Thank you for your support. If we are featuring in your top 5, we thank you, we salute you. And I think that's all I need to talk about. Telegram is there as always. If you whether you make the game or not on Sunday, the conversation always continues 24/7 over there. And if you want some merch, I think probably you need to, if you want merch for your Christmas presents, why not give your family a love by demonstrating it with some Blue Monday merch? Here's a mug, for example. Links on our website, bluemonday.itfc.co.uk. Everything you need is there, all of our pod feeds, all of our links, etc. But make your orders quick if you want to get it in time for Christmas. Should we talk about us, Seb? We need to first out shout out to Tess. Hello to Tess. All we need is a classic Blue Monday. Come on, you Blue Son of tonight. We have literally been lost without them. We didn't do it last week. Seb and I are very much aware of that. It will be addressed at the end of the show. The right-hand side, Seb, feels to me to be the concern. How would you address it?
Well, we know Tuanzebe is out. I would keep Jack Clark at right back, but I would give him the defensive kind of nous and stability of Ben Johnson in front of him. I was so impressed with Johnson at Spurs away. That lovely touch that kind of started the move for the second goal. But, you know, we've been talking in Telegram recently about the need, I think Nick Ames was talking about it, the need to get him and Calvin Phillips on the pitch. You know, they're our most kind of experienced Premier League players, and he was on the bench in midweek, so hopefully he's good enough to start. And I would have him in front of Harry Clark to kind of firm up that right-hand side a little bit, given how dangerous the likes of Kirkes is down that flank.
So lightning has hit your brain and you're saying Clark, Johnson, yeah? Not Burns to get in behind them because they're too high up the pitch?
No, I would have the defensive solidity down that side because they are a massive threat down that side of the pitch. And also Johnson, don't forget, he's not a slouch. He can move forward and create things further up the pitch. But yeah, I just think we need that little bit of protection down that side, given their propensity for attacking down that side and the quality they have.
The wind is rushing around Ipswich, my house, at the moment. So if my internet fails, we are screwed. We might have to repeat this show tomorrow if everything packs up. So apologies in advance if I disappear, especially to Seb, because there's literally nothing he can do. He can't end the stream. So bear with us. And if you're joining us late and worried about Seb's situation, he is still here, but his internet is not. So he's on his phone, bless him. So thank you to Seb. Give us your views on the right-hand side and what you might do about it if you disagree or have alternative views. I kind of feel like off the back of Tuesday, Seb, and Forest to an extent, just chucking as much top flight experience into our 11, it seems to me the important thing. And to your point about Nick Ames and the chat we had in Telegram, is it time to bring in Phillips? I feel it is. What's your take?
Do you think we can fit in Phillips, Kayuse and Morsey into a central midfield? We know Kayuse is only going to give you 65, 70 minutes, which is a real shame because, he's been our best player on the pitch at times this season, but he seems to be done. I know they're managing this injury that presumably was the reason he didn't go away with Sweden and the doubts over the Brentford move in the summer. But if you can get all three of them into your central midfield, I think you've got a hell of a chance. You could play Phillips slightly deeper, provide a bit of security for the centre backs. Morsey can do his usual box to box, drop deep, pick the ball up, and then maybe you just play Kayuse slightly more advanced. I think he has played that role for Napoli and stuff, and that might be one way to look at it, to kind of get like you say, get our best players, our most experienced Premier League players in the side without compromising elsewhere on the pitch. So if you can do it, I would have that as my kind of three-man central midfield with Kayuse playing slightly more advanced and look to really kind of dominate that area of the pitch.
And then if you're doing that, and Kayuse has got experience playing number 10, Smollic versus Broadhead, I guess, is the final debate.
I really want to see Nathan Broadhead start a game in the Premier League now. I thought it was surprising Smollic stayed on the bench, which was strange given we were chasing a goal and, 3 goals in the league so far this season, 29 goals for Blackburn last season. I was really surprised we didn't see him. I thought Amari was off it on Tuesday night, as were, to be fair, most of the starting 11. But I thought Nathan Broadhead was really bright away at Forest. And I thought he showed good things again on Tuesday night when he came on. So I think it's time for Nathan Broadhead to start in the left-hand channel for us, which means I'm benching Amari Hutchinson if I can make the Kayuse thing work. If you can't make the Kayuse thing work, maybe bench him and put Amari in the 10 behind Liam Delap. But yeah, that's what I would go for. I would love to see Nathan Broadhead start this game.
He won't start. It's going to be Smollic. There you go. I've revealed it.
Brilliant.
It'll be pretty much as Johnson for Burns is probably the only thing I'm seeing at the moment. I would love to see Phillips back in the team. I know we've not seen maybe consistent form from him, but I just think we need that experience, that top flight now. So actually, the game before his red cards, even in the game, even in the Leicester game, I thought he was having a really excellent performance for us. So I'd be looking to get him back in his ready. And Smollic didn't play. He'll be fresh. He will start over Broadhead for me. But let us know what you think in the chat. You've got some Streaky 100% agree, Seb. Not sure on what Streaky, if you want to qualify that. Seb says a lot of things. Not all of them you agree with, surely. But we'll move on. I think the wheelie bin has gone down. It's all kicking off tonight, isn't it? Wheelie bins, all sorts. Wheelie bins are down in Ipswich. We'll end in predictions. So start frying in the think what your predictions might be for Ipswich versus Bournemouth on Sunday. Streaky says Broadhead. There you go. He's going for Broadhead over Smollic. Thank you, Streaky. So we will come back to predictions right at the end, but we've got to talk about it, haven't we? Did you make fireworks?
Did fireworks just appear behind? Yeah, I thought so. I did the thumbs up for the FPL feature, because I'm destroying you. And
Oh
inadvertently, look at this.
God,
Fireworks are appearing behind me. That's amazing. It's like the StreamYard algorithm knows my success at this feature and is equally rubbing your face in it.
What happens if I do this? Does that anything? No, it doesn't do anything. Okay, we move on. Rude. Apologies, kids. Don't look. And hello, Neil. You had a stinker, Rich. All right. Start with
Which one? Which one, Neil? Are you referring to last weekend, or are you referring to the midweek games? Because it's all not been great, has it, Richard?
This is what online bullying looks like, folks. Firstly, let's shout out to Brett Vale, our partners for the FPL feature. Completely stupid feature. I feel really sorry for them. But they are the best golf club just outside Ipswich, in my view, in Constable Country. All kinds of promos going on there. New members on a second member discount, introductory offer through to April. Apologies, no joining fee. Get £20.24 on your bar card just by mentioning us. That is magic. That is how magic happens, just by mentioning the Blue Monday podcast. But do give Brett Vale your support. Maybe not this weekend. Not sure it's a weekend for golf, but some people might like the conditions. Bless Norman, trying to find the positives. Take place, I'm in second place. Silver medal position, Norman. Nothing to be sniffed at. I'd Rich in the head-to-head league too this week. Lovely, brilliant. It's going so well for me. Let's put the table up. Because I have to, legally obliged. Oh, wow, Seb won. What a surprise. We both got the same amount of ITFC bonus. We both had the full quota and they did nothing at Forest. But yeah, look at your 77 Mo Salah related points. Brilliant. Well done.
I think I'm on course for even higher this midweek game, just to disappoint you.
I'd be proud. Doesn't count. Don't care. Not interested.
You're going to remove that from the figures, are you? You're not counting midweek fixtures.
Well, we didn't talk about it, so it doesn't count. I can add it if you want. It really makes no difference to me at this stage. I've given up.
I think you should.
I've given up. Whose team is this? This looks like your team. You probably can't see it because it's you're on your phone.
Okay. Yeah, I've made some changes this week, so I've kept the defence all the same. I transferred out Harry Winks and Konza to free up some budget, and I bought in Amad Diallo, who had like 3 assists in his first 2 games, I think, under Ruben Amorim, who then promptly dropped him for last week's game against Arsenal. So yeah, that might have been a bit of a mistake to make. Leif Davis, as always, is my first choice substitute, and I've still got Delap and Jackson up front. But yeah, that midfield I thought looks quite tasty. Saka, Hutchinson, Salah, my captain, Palmer, my vice captain, and Ahmed Diallo. Yeah, I think I've got some points there coming this weekend.
I have. What have I done? I have no idea what I'm doing. There you go. What I've brought in, is it Justin Timber? Because he scored midweek for Arsenal. And I brought in Ollie Watkins. There you go. Whatever. Cunha's out. Cunha experiment failed. So what are you going to do? Don't care.
Why have you benched Brian and Mbeumo?
Because he's not scored in about 5 weeks.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
So he's first choice sub, but yeah, pointless, stupid feature. We'll be back. We are back next week, aren't we? To talk all about it again after Wolves. I can confirm
and the week after. You're here forever.
Here forever. Yeah. It looks like Bournemouth are dominating most of the key metrics, apart from touches in the opposition box against Spurs as it stands. So a well-deserved lead. It looks like they've also had a goal disallowed for offside. So Bournemouth having a good spell against Spurs, but all the good teams win against Spurs, don't they? So get your predictions in the chat. That is where we're going to go to next. We are going to marginally curtail the show from our normal 1 hour running period because I'm worried about the battery on Seb's phone and it might burn the house down or something like that. So we'll move fast. But get your predictions in for Ipswich versus Bournemouth. That is where we'll end. Let's some lovely stuff in the chat. Streaky Rich's loser parade time. Still half the season to go, Streaky. Let's not, Seb's. Let's not look at his smug face. Look at him. So yeah, what else have we got? Seb, what's the forfeit going to be? You should have joined Telegram. It was an inappropriate forfeit earlier today, which will definitely not be happening. Procrastinating one more. Imagine driving a golf ball in the wind that's coming, like Tiger Woods on turbo on the PlayStation. What else have we got... Michael's internet's down. What's going on? Am I the only one with internet? Let me know. Michael's Australian internet presumably melted in the heat, Michael. Hopefully it's back up soon because you've got to go to work, haven't you, at some point? But we'll get to predictions. Seb, I'll let you have a bit more time. We'll see what folk have to say. But they are Jay Casey, 170 first up with a 2-1 to Town. At least that's what my heart says. Jay Casey says. Neil's going for a 2-1 as well. O'Shea first goal. O'Shea really starting to establish himself, Seb, as one of our more consistent performers, isn't he?
Yeah, I think he's moved on massively in the last couple of weeks. When he first came in, I couldn't see that much of a difference between him and Wolfie, if I was being honest. But obviously, he was playing catch up and getting used to how we played. But yeah, I think certainly since the Spurs game, I think he's been excellent in recent weeks. You know, the way he was dominating against the Man United strikers a couple of weeks ago was really great to see. And now we've got to get that central defensive partnership established, haven't we? You know, you spoke earlier about wanting to get Phillips in to get him alongside Morsey and that kind of stuff. We need to either get him and Greaves, because they're going to be the first choice, let's be honest. We need to get them a run of games to make sure that they can both be at the peak of their powers. I've been really impressed in recent weeks.
And shout out to Ara Muric as well. Since I've worn my goalkeeper shirt with Muric on the back before the Spurs game, and maybe this is where we're going wrong. Maybe I need to get the Muric shirt out every single week going forward. He seems to have gone from strength to strength as well. Seb, do you want to give him a shout out?
Absolutely. I was at Forest away last week with some Forest fans, and obviously he had a loan spell on there. And they kind of clocked it and said, "Is Muric your keeper?" And I said, "Yeah." And he was, "Oh, that's a Rick." And I said, "Don't be so sure." You know, he came in against Man City, made a couple of errors. Perhaps the one you could say away at Brentford in the last minute was his mistake. But since then, I think he's been remarkably solid. You know, his ability to come out and claim the ball under pressure from free kicks and corners, I think, is very, very underrated. Distribution still can be a bit hit or miss at occasions. Shot stopping is phenomenal. I think we're now seeing the keeper that we thought we'd signed back in the summer. You know, it's taken a little while to settle in, but certainly for the last 4, 5, 6 games, I think he's been exceptional.
He's brilliant on one-on-ones as well.
He's so big, isn't he? So makes himself so big and is able to kind of get down quickly for a big man as well.
We've got a 2-2 from Mike Salmon Socks, 2-2 Chappers to score. Streaky as always, no scoreline, but he's predicting a win. Positivity. Norman positive as well, 2-0. Given that we have an extra 2 days rest. I think, do you want to talk to that, Seb? It's not going to do us any harm at all, is it, that?
No, I'd be annoyed if I was Bournemouth and it was the other way round. That's quite a big advantage. You know, no issue with one night. You know, you quite often get games played Tuesday and Wednesday and then again at the weekend, and that's kind of part of the course. But yeah, two kind of extra days rest and then a trip. They were at Wolves away last weekend. That's a bit of a trick from Bournemouth. They've got this game on Thursday night tonight, and then they're away to us, which again is a bit of a trek at the weekend. I'm hoping we can take advantage of that, because I think that could be significant, especially the way they play with that intensity. They've got so much less recovery time after, you know, I've just mentioned top of the sprints, top of the distance covered, top of the pressing intensity. You'd like to think the 48 hours less recovery they will have will hopefully see some changes and maybe disrupt their rhythm at the weekend.
And a few on 4 yellows, as Henry mentioned earlier. Maybe they might get into trouble later on against Spurs too. Worth noting, 38 minutes, which was a few minutes ago, Kirkes loses the ball in a bad area, allowing Kulusevski a run on goal. Didn't come to anything. But again, an insight maybe to the very attacking intent of the personnel at Bournemouth. Could work in our favour. And he's going for a 1-0. Just can't see a win for Town at the moment. Is a draw, Seb? I'm not sure I've asked you for your prediction yet, but reflecting on what others have put, a draw isn't a bad result, is it?
Not against Bournemouth, I don't think so. No. Spoiler alert, I'm predicting the same as Andy. I think it will be a 1-1 draw. We did our kind of next forecast. Was it 6 games for the flagship show last Sunday? I had the Palace game down as a win, and I had this weekend down as a draw. I think Bournemouth are further ahead of us in their journey, buzzword bingo. And I think that, they are a very good side who taking a point off is probably a decent result, let's be honest. There are good points and there are bad points. I think this would be a decent point given how they set up and how they play.
Yeah, I thought we'd struggle against Palace, actually. I predicted a defeat or a draw maybe in that one. And I kind of have had a positive feeling about Bournemouth because of the way that we've done against teams that have tried to attack us. As I kind of said on Tuesday night, this is a football match. which might work in our favour. Who knows? Against, it's not a team that's got perhaps physical stature like Forest and Palace. And so maybe that will work in our favour. Who knows? So, I'm going to predict a 2-2 draw. I think there'll be goals in it. I would love us to do with the referee, Michael Salisbury, as we talked about. If he's in the middle, it'd be good to harness the spirit of Sarmiento, wouldn't it? But not going to be greedy. But it does put pressure on other games that we've got coming up, doesn't it, as well? I think Mike Salmon Stocks, we've kind of dealt with how are Bournemouth doing against Spurs. It looks like they are 1-0 up, but it looks like they are the more potent in the attacking sense, shall we say. Although Spurs have had Solanke, former Bournemouth, of course, as we mentioned, probably had their best chance from a set piece. Streaky 94. I only have one unworn shirt this season. So away white Bisons is washed and pressed, ready for Sunday. What steps will you be taking, Seb, in your pre-match routine to assure victory for Ipswich Town?
I will use the same coffee cup that I used for the last 2 years. I will have the same coffee that I had for the last 2 years. And I will take my place, hopefully, at this desk. And hopefully I will have working internet so I can settle down and watch it as I have done for the last 2 years. I will keep my routine exactly the same. And I'm even going to take one for the team for the Newcastle game. I will pay £15 to the Borough Council to pay in my usual spot outside the cupboard in the hope that it leads to a victory, as it has done for the last 2 years. I'm a creature of habit and I don't like to change match day routines.
We are absolutely doing our best here, and we encourage you to do likewise. Michael, we need a 96-minute deflected Morsey goal. Ideally to win it, Michael. Ideally to win it, not Leicester. What a save. Sensational reaction stop from Forster to somehow keep Tavernier's close-range header out. There you go. So Bournemouth piling on the pressure. 2 points of a similar nature, said Trevor. Draws are not going to get us out the danger zone. Paul P, we need to win. Draws are not going to do it anymore. I mean, of course, we all want to win. How do you manage expectations? That is always the issue for me. People, of course, want us to win. Wins are not guaranteed in any game that we play this season, even the home ones, is it? In terms of the atmosphere being flat, we obviously need to raise things flat on Tuesday. Obviously, Sunday, the crowd, McKenna's talked about the 12th man. It's such a, we've kind of dealt with this at the start, right? Trevor and Paul are, of course, correct. There's always a but that follows it. How do you feel the words after the but ... If we got to win?
Well, we're not at the must-win stage. Yeah, we're not at the must-win stage yet. It's only, game 14. We have Wolves away to come, who, if they can give us a helping hand with their defending like they did against Bournemouth. Last weekend, that could be a major kind of plus point. And as I said earlier on the pod, we are going to have more down days than up days so far this season, because that's the nature of the beast. And I don't think a point at home to Bournemouth is necessarily a bad result. Like it or not, given the respective histories of the club, given the size of the club, they are nowhere near us. I will totally admit that, obviously, but they're further along than we are in this kind of, Premier League journey. They're far more established. They will have two of their defenders are 6'2". It's a big side, again, full of pace, full of power, full of running speed. And I just think sometimes you have to look at the fixture list and think, is that a good point? Is that a bad point? The point against Leicester was a bad point because of the circumstances and the late goal. But I don't think on Sunday a point against Bournemouth would really go down as a bad result. I'd be happy with that one. It's a little bit of confidence. It kind of stops the mini 2-game rot going into Wolves away next weekend. They're playing West Ham on Monday night. So hopefully a dull 0-0 draw to keep Gary O'Neill in position for next weekend would be nice. I just think that a point kind of settles everything back down again and is another tick off on the kind of the road to safety, should we say.
Yeah, I'll go with that. And I think that's a good point to leave it. I've dragged it out to basically an hour anyway. So bless you, Seb, for hanging in there. Thank you, everyone, for your patience while we deal with the logistical challenges. It actually worked out pretty well, apart from not doing our usual Monday night football stuff. Seb, I'll come to you in a second for your thoughts. But thank you once again to Atwells. Thank you to One Stop Badgers. Thank you to Brett Vale. Even though I'm a Paramacian brain when it comes to FPL, it's still fun because look at Seb's little face when he's happy when he's winning. It's taken a while to find a feature that Seb's actually good at. Here we are. I'll have to suck it up for the rest of the season. What it will be, will be. Don't forget to give us a thumbs up. We really appreciate it. It makes a massive difference, certainly on YouTube. So please do that. 5-star reviews, very much appreciated on your podcast app of choice too. Do share your Spotify and Wrapped if that's something that you're doing. And join the guys later on Sunday night for the flagship show to go through the hopefully the positive outcome that is Ipswich Town versus Bournemouth on Sunday. Thank you to Seb for your research and for your 4G network for hanging in there. I'll hand over to you to say goodbye before I'm the one who signs off on it. Yeah, me.
Yes, you take us out. We lost last week against Forest, but we didn't do the sign-off. So technically, the last Blue Monday sign-off was the Man United game, which obviously was a draw. So you can keep it going. Thank you, everyone, for bearing with us tonight. Not ideal. I appreciate that with the technology issues we've faced. Blame the weather, blame the North, blame BT. Hopefully, normal service will be resumed next week. Thank you to you for carrying me this week. Much appreciated. Make Portman Road loud. We've discussed the maybe slightly flat atmosphere that we all experienced on Tuesday night. Make it as loud as possible. Make it intimidating. Back them from minute one, and hopefully we will get a favourable return. See you all next week, folks.
Thanks, Seb. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. And as we like to say on this podcast, particularly this one on the pre-match show, ahead of a match at the weekend, come on, you Blues!